Okay, so let's review. So we've been looking at the world from about 1450 to 1650, and we are almost done our first unit. I know you're all very, very excited. But really, right, our course is called The West and the World. And if we say that we're actually looking at the world, if we're being truly honest with ourselves, we've really, really been looking at Europe, right? And largely Western Europe, a little bit of Eastern Europe with talk about the Ottoman Empire. But we've largely been focusing on Western Europe, right? And then with the Age of Exploration, we're starting to talk a bit more about how Western Europe began to connect with different parts of the world, right? So what's interesting, though, right, as many of you talked about in your Age of Exploration assignment, is when we look at Europe in 1500, right, it was not the powerhouse that it became. It was fractured city states, very few unified countries, lots of wars over religion. Still seems to be lots of wars over religion, but, anyways, lots of wars over religion. And then we start to see some changes with the emergence of the Renaissance, right, which begins in Florence. And we also see it in when the Ottoman Empire captures Constantinople, modern day Istanbul, and the Eastern Renaissance flourishes there. And then the Renaissance comes to England with the Tudor family and Elizabeth I. And then you have the Protestant Reformation. And then you have Spain with the Inquisition burning people. And then you have Portugal exploring and Spain exploring. And Spain and France are competing for who's going to be the most powerful nation in Europe. But really, not until the Age of Exploration is this really impacting much of the world. And then as you notice, with the Age of Exploration, we start to see a lot of that change. So we've taken a lot in this unit, and these are just a few pictures that we've looked at. So we've looked at religion, obviously, right? So the role of Christianity. When we first started this unit, you had the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, which dominated Europe. There was only two Christian churches, right? The Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church. And then with this guy over here, Martin Luther, we have the Protestant Reformation, right? He doesn't mean to create a complete change in the Catholic Church, but he does. And because of him, there's now many different sections of Christianity. Then we also have this guy, Henry VIII, right, in England, who creates his own church because he wants to get divorced. But those implications, as well as his children, including Mary, who becomes known as Bloody Mary, and Elizabeth over here, completely transform the landscape of England and do start to bring England, which was not a powerful country, into the forefront of the European Empire, when largely before that it was really dominated by France, Spain, and maybe Portugal. Then with the Protestant Reformation, with the Renaissance, with humanism, we have these incredible pieces of art, and we also have the scientific revolution which takes place, right? Martin Luther kind of brings up that idea that the Pope may be fallible, and people start to buy into that. Now, this is not to discount the fact, right, that the Catholic Church still has tremendous amount of influence. I don't want to underestimate the influence that the Catholic Church has in Europe at this point. But what that does mean is that there are other types of Christianity, and that people are beginning, very small beginning to question. Technology is being created. Galileo advances a heliocentric universe. As you know, he's heavily persecuted by the Catholic Church for that, but he does that anyways. The scientific revolution leads to lots of new inventions, including we also have technology like the caravels, right, which allow our explorers to go off and find incredible and vast, powerful empires like the Aztecs and the Incas, as well as the Arawak and the Taino people that unfortunately Columbus enslaves, kills, and all that stuff after they saved his life. But basically the whole landscape of Europe changes within this time period. You have all of these different events taking place, and it's a lot to take in. So we want to come back to some big overarching critical thinking questions. Now, these are big questions, right? So I'm not expecting when we're going through the question for you to come to an answer right away, and there is no one right answer to this question. So the first question is, did the social, political, and economic changes that took place during this time have a lasting impact on the world? All right, so just digest that. And then what new ideas emerged during this time period that challenged dominant and long-held beliefs? So probably while I was saying those questions, a couple of things instantly came to your mind and a couple of things are a bit fuzzy, and that's okay. So I just want to go over, again, some keys to critical thinking. So I like the RED acronym, right? So RED, R, recognize assumptions, E, evaluate arguments, and D, draw your own conclusions, supported obviously with evidence. And of course, I love my little Albert Einstein or my quotes in general. So we have education is not the learning of facts, but training the mind to think. And I'm sure you're all rolling your eyes right now at me, but that's okay because I'm not there to see you rolling your eyes at me. So moving on. All right, what you are going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, contain your excitement, is you are going to go to a site called Padlet. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. You're going to click on this link here, and I'm going to show you how that works. And the password for that is history, all lowercase. What I want you to do is a free write exercise. So you're going to post anything that you have learned so far in this course, and then you are going to move your posts around so that they fall under the headings on the Padlet as social, economic, political, and new ideas. So I'm just going to click that open for you right now. See my pretty map here? So you have new ideas, economic changes, political changes, and social changes. So you're going to click a plus, right? And I might say something like the humanism. Humanism was a new idea in the time period. And then I would click on it, and then I can move it later on. Although I'm not doing a good job of showing you how to do that right now, but I can move it later on under the different categories. All right, so going back, after you do a free write and a brainstorm session, if you can just post your ideas here, even if you don't order them properly, I can order them for us later. But that way we will have kind of like one place with all of your just free write ideas that we can access through our class website and then through Google Classroom as well. So going back, I want to look at what you are going to do today. So when faced with a critical question, you need to start with a critical task, right? You have this overarching question. It's a really big question. You have to think about how you're going to answer that big question. So your critical task for today is a 3-2-1 challenge. So in groups, we'll get to that in a second, you're going to be looking at different topics that we've touched on in class and doing the following. So first, so say for example, your topic is a scientific revolution. So if it's a scientific revolution, for your 3, you're going to identify a social, political, and economic change that took place because of this event or idea. All right, so you have to not just tell me how the scientific revolution changed things, but how did it change things socially, how did it change things politically, and how did it change things economically? So this is requiring you to really critically think about the impact of this event. Next, you're going to identify and explain one positive that took place because of this and one negative for the change. And your number one, is a burning question you have about this topic or a new opinion that you developed because of this topic. All right, so I mentioned that you're going to be in groups. Where are you going to be doing this task? So you're going to go to Google Classroom, and on Google Classroom, you're going to see this PowerPoint, the Class 3-2-1 Challenge. You're going to open it. On the second slide, you'll see the instructions that I just went over. So if you forget what you're doing, again, you go back here, 3-2-1. Then it is divided by topics, and everyone has a partner, 2 people. So Jonathan and Kajal are going to be looking at the Renaissance. So they're going to look back here, and they're going to say what was the social change created by the Renaissance, what was a political change, and what was an economic change. Then they're going to talk about one positive and one negative for the changes, and then any question or a new opinion that was formed based on what they learned about this topic. If they can't fit all of their information in a slide, they're just going to add a new slide. You guys are all experts at Google presentations, so I know you know how to do that. And then this will be available on our Google Classroom. So when you're reviewing for your tests or your papers or final assignments, or just trying to understand the vast amount of information that we cover in such a short amount of time, you'll have this as a resource. What I am going to do with this tonight is I'm going to read through your information and look at your burning questions and see what we can come up with to further extend your understanding of the course material and to help you answer those burning questions, right? Those burning questions that we want to get back to, which are, did the social, political, and economic changes that took place during this time have a lasting impact on the world? And what new ideas emerged during this time period that challenged dominant and long-held beliefs? All right, enjoy. I'll be checking in on your progress on Google Classroom. Feel free to email me or post any questions. Hope you enjoyed the video and aren't missing me too much. I'll see you soon.